got,
Make himself at home on a Zabaton. It's like a dog bed. You know? Oh, my
quite a
goodness.
good crowd. Um,
Okay.
who, who is that?
It is Lillian Diane. I don't know.
Okay, Lillian Diane.
Wait, there we go.
Did she?
Yeah, I'm Drew's wife, Diana. This is just that, that's what my phone says.
Threw us off there.
Hi, Diana.
Hi.
Okay. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. Don is actually responsible for this direction that we're taking. After our group,
How's the head? Question mark.
I am muting everybody, so there we go.
he said, what do I do with all this anger I'm feeling? We were discussing some things that are going on in our culture. And I said, well, that may be a good topic to bring up. And Colton being here, it reminded me, he's thinking about doing some men's circles. And I started doing them back in 75. And of course, a major issue with men is what to do with our anger, particularly in relationships. So this fits right in. And I wore this t-shirt today with Warrior on it because this is a major issue. What do we do with anger? The first thing we need to understand about anger is it's not going away. You're not going to get rid of anger. To get rid of anger, you'd have to rip out your nervous system. So that's not going to happen. It's part of a very early, primitive part of our brains that's designed for defense. So when we're under attack out in the wilderness, to understand why your brain does what it does, you have to understand what we're now calling evolutionary psychology. How did the brain evolve for 2 million years in wilderness conditions? Well, the first thing was that we were almost constantly under attack. Wild animals watch Naked and Afraid, not to try and get a sneaky butt shot or side boob or something, but to see what was it like for our ancestors to live needing to get food, needing to find a safe place to shelter, needing protection from all the insects and stuff. So what we know is that the paranoid brains survived. The people who were real laid back, who were chilled, who weren't paying attention, died either from natural things or from internal conflict within their own tribe or from conflict between tribes. So anger is an instantaneous response. I'm saying this so you will have compassion for yourself. Most of us blame ourselves for getting angry. Please stop that, all right? Anger happens in a half a second. 0.5 seconds from the time a signal enters your eyes, okay, or ears or any sense, picks up something that your amygdala recognizes as being associated with a previous threat. This is where PTSD comes from. This part of your brain never erases that trace, okay? So if you're attacked by a bear, not only do you remember the bear attack, you remember the time of day, you remember the smells, you remember the sounds. All of those become triggers, what we mean by a trigger. So it doesn't have to be the exact event that gets you on alert. It can be anything associated with that, which will immediately put your brain into fight or flight. That signal goes to your pituitary gland, goes to your kidneys, and bam, there you are, ready to go to war. The important thing is to understand that we were never meant to be constantly on alert. When you look at people in modern society, our threats aren't simply from external physical danger. It's from loss of status. It's from what will people think if. And so we've got this constant social network, particularly here in the South. Man, do we gossip. And that whole thing makes us feel like we're under threat from being exposed. But then on top of that, the media constantly bombards us with fear, okay? Fear and anger are related. They are the same chemical. What's the difference between whether I express it as anger or whether I express it as fear? Anybody know?
Your perception of it.
Your perception of it, right. So if I perceive that I can kick your ass, it will come out as anger, okay? I want to. If I can't, that's why we call the fight or flight response. If I can't, then I will run. But those are both survival. Can you see them both as having survival value? So out in nature, we did things to kind of balance that out. We would dance, we would sing songs, we would be out in nature. We would have all kinds of things that would take us out of the fight or flight part of our nervous system and put us back in the part that Jesus called the kingdom, okay, which is our ability to feel compassion, to feel a part of, to feel optimistic, to feel joyful about life. And think about how many times does that happen in your day? And as opposed to how many times are you hearing on the news about what's going on? Think about our brains 200, 300 years ago. If you were a peasant in a field, how much did you know about what's going on in all the wars all over the world? How much did you know what was going on in your political situation? You didn't get news, okay? You didn't have choices. You didn't have to decide what to eat. You know, you ate a potato. That's what you had. You ate whatever was growing out in the backyard. So our poor brains everything is being sold. Instead of selling us death insurance, they sell us life insurance as if buying this thing is going to give us life. It isn't going to give you life. It isn't going to protect you from death. But what if the unspeakable should happen? How long could your family survive? It instills a fear into us, okay? You know, then on the weather, we can't even watch the weather. It's like, what would happen if a hurricane hit Charleston? Who gives a shit? You know, I kind of feel that they'll deal with it, just like we did with Katrina, whether they're prepared or not. And we think always we have to be constantly on alert and stay safe, and we use anger and fear to do that. All right. Now,
Drama.
it's all about drama. Now, here's the kicker. If you look at the Chinese, the Buddhist system, at the center of what they call the wheel of diluted existence, you're going to see three figures, okay? The first figure is a rooster, and the rooster is ignorance. Standing on his dung heap, telling the whole world how it should be behaving, okay? And that's the ego. Ego is the world is about me. It's about how I think it should be, how I think it shouldn't be, okay? Now, that's driven by the two other animals that are there. The pig or the boar. I like to think of it as a boar because it happens to be my Chinese zodiac sign. I don't like to think of myself as a pig because it's a little too close to home. But this is about desire. So when the signals come into our brainstem, one of the first things that it splits into is undesirable, desirable, and neutral. When it goes in the desirable category, this is where those rewards hit in our brain. And we all know about dopamine. And what does dopamine say? It says, I want more. I want more of that stuff. So all of a sudden, our brain begins to shift direction towards getting more of the things that we like, okay? The other one is the snake. The snake is about resistance. It's about, I don't want this, right? These are the cause of suffering. As you begin to see, I immediately go to war because I'm trying to grasp after something I don't have. I'm trying to resist what I do have, all right? Now, I'm not content with what is. I'm also interpreting what is in terms of the way I think about it. And notice how much anger is related to you challenging the way I think that the world should be, okay? How much of it is me trying to protect the things that I think I need, all the physical things that I've been taught that I need. Once it gets attached to ego, once it gets attached to me, it's no longer in service of life. So when you think about what is anger, anger is life force, it's energy, it is spiritual energy. So we don't want to get rid of it. We want to use that energy and liberate it from the way that the brain has trapped it into egoic movements, to fighting against what I don't like, grasping after what I do want, and trying to maintain this sense of my sense of right. So this is how we begin to go to war. And I found this beautiful poem by Hafiz. Says this sane idea: let your intelligence begin to rule whenever you sit with others. Let your intelligence begin to rule, not your rooster mind, but your bigger mind, that calm mind. Using this sane idea, leave all your cocked guns in a field far from us, because one of those damn things might go off. So one of the first things we ask when you join this group is leave your cocked guns at the door, okay? We're not at war with the ideas. We're not at war with each other. We're not even at war with ourselves. We're trying to learn to study war no more. How do I unlearn this conditioned aggressive response, things going on in my environment, okay? Now, let me add one more nuance and then we'll go into our meditation. What's the first thing that parents kill in their children?
Their spirit.
Okay, no, well, it's not spirit, but it in some ways it is.
Anger.
Let's kill your spirit. Huh?
Anger.
Yeah, your anger. Don't you dare talk to me like that. How many of us got hit when we got angry? Okay. But this part of us that says, don't treat me like that I want this, that's spirit. And so what happens repeatedly is we show up and all our exuberance for life is we get compressed. And our response to that is, don't treat me like that. That's warrior energy. There is a spiritual function to this energy. And that's why we even have a saint dedicated to anger and the spiritual use of anger. Who is that angel?
Michael.
Michael. So what is the warrior energy? He's the guardian of boundaries. He set the Garden of Eden with a flaming sword. And if you are afraid, you can't enter. If you take the sword seriously, you don't get in. You can only get in if you understand there's nothing to fear here. It's all sacred energy, okay? So we know that I want you to treat my spirit with respect. I want to set a boundary, and this is where we misunderstand anger. It's about not trying to change your behavior. That's where it becomes aggression. It's about maintaining my own safety. If you can't stop doing that, then that's the end of our relationship for now. I'm going to go back over here, get myself regulated, and if you're ready to act and behave in a way that's respectful of my spirit, we'll continue this discussion. We've totally misunderstood a boundary setting. It's about, you need to do this so I can feel safe. Anytime I put my safety in the hands of someone outside of me, I have no safety. Then you have control of my safety. So what we're going to talk about today is learning to recognize when anger emerges. It's a physiological sensation. You will feel it in your body. You'll feel the gut going. You'll feel the tension in your hands. You'll feel it in your butt. You'll feel your blood pressure start to rise, your heartbeat beginning to accelerate. That's when we need to catch it. We need to catch anger when it's still physiological, okay? Because the minute that it hits, it changes your perceptions. And that's why we talked about vagus nerve, the ventral part of the vagus nerve, which is where everything is optimistic and you're an ally and a friend. The minute that adrenaline hits and we shift into fight or flight, you become a threat. Okay? And until I regulate, until I get back to a place where I can see you as a person, not through my ignorance that's being created by this physiological response, but through the kind of clarity of being able to see because I'm not seeing you as a threat. Does that make sense? So the first movement when we get angry is not out, which is where we want to go, but to come back and to sit with the uncomfortable sensations. Okay.
The pause.
It's the pause. Now, the pause is critical. That's why we practice meditation for two reasons. One, your capacity to change is dependent on the quality of your awareness in the moment. Okay. If you're under the influence of anger, you're not in the moment. Okay. You're one step, a half second behind what's going on. And that's why Bodhidharma, the founder of Zen Buddhism and Kung Fu, said, first I see, then I act. So we're removing the cloud of ignorance that sees you as a threat. Okay? I'm getting back in the present moment, back in reality, back in my own skin. Okay. So, questions from the house? All right, so let's go ahead and do it. Grab your cushions and hang on. Here we go. So begin with a couple of cleansing breaths, deep abdominal breaths. Let them out slowly. The exhale is a major signal to your brain that you're safe. I love the title of the film, Waiting to Exhale. And that feeling of release that comes from just sighing out. It's a neurological drop. And we're learning that the way you talk to yourself is absolutely essential to your spiritual well-being and your physical well-being. So begin to regard yourself the way you want other people to treat you, instead of trying to get your partner or your family or your boss to treat you with respect. Begin to create an atmosphere for yourself that's open and accepting and compassionate. Present to what you're experiencing without judgment. Softening the body. Just doing a brief scan, letting go of all the tensions that you've accumulated. And just sighing them out. As you tune into the sensations in the body, the monkey mind begins to quiet naturally, bringing you into the present moment. All your sensations are in the present moment. Your breath is in the present moment. Notice that. Notice when you drift off into thought, you lose touch with your body, you lose touch with the room. And as soon as you notice, come back to the sensations, back to the breath, without judgment or criticism, knowing that the brain is going to wander. That means nothing except you have a brain. Even the most skilled meditators have monkey minds that interrupt meditation. It's just an opportunity to practice. Just allowing the out breath to be a little bit longer. And as you breathe in, breathe into your heart. I am safe. In this moment, I'm safe, I'm protected. And as you exhale, let go of all the tensions, all the guardings, all the hardenings. I'm safe, I'm protected. I am nourished. We only think of nourishment in terms of food, but your breath is nourishment, prana, energy. The negative ions of the earth and being grounded is energy, it's nourishment. The sunlight nourishes vitamin D, melatonin, It's carried through your fascia. As you breathe, feel yourself drawing in that nourishment. As you draw it in, release all those energies that weigh your spirit down. Energies that no longer serve you. Visualizing, breathing in the energy, feeling that subtle increase at your energetic core. And as you exhale, feel all the weight. They're not negative emotions. They're just heavy. They're like zombie cells that are floating around, serve no purpose. Let them go. Like a tree, taking what you need without greed. Releasing what you don't need. I'm safe. I'm nourished. And I am worthy just as I am. Nothing to add, nothing to subtract. Not simply worthy, but reclaiming that sense of value. See if you can feel the stirrings of your self-esteem that got stripped from you. Letting go of all shame, all guilt, all questioning. And know you're inherently worthy because you're sacred stuff in this form. And feel that energy that wants to expand like a light from your energetic center, your glory. Drawing in the energetic forces around you and reflecting them in a way that only you can. Every one of us is different colored gem, different facets, different impurities, reflecting the same light. And in the eyes of the sacred, all light is worthy. We judge each other in ignorance. And from this place of safety, of power, of openness and receptivity, Bring to mind an incident that recently caused you to become angry. And see if you can maintain this seat that you've just created. And replay that scene outside as if you were watching it on a stage. Just like watching a movie that makes you angry. See the energy, the images unfold, and feel the reaction in your body. Tightening of the breath, hardening of the muscles, clenching of the jaw, the fists, the buttocks. And see if you can maintain both these contradictory senses at the same time. A sense of, I am sitting here peaceful, awake. And I'm experiencing a disturbing thought form. Energy that my body's trapped. See if you created a storyline justifying your anger. Maybe even deepening it, bringing in old resentments to fuel it. Keep that sense of peace. As things emerge and they tighten, just continue to breathe and soften. To open. And see what happens if you send compassion to yourself in that picture. See what you're trying to defend, what you're trying to protect. With compassion, begin to view the other people or circumstances. Asking the same question with compassion. What are they trying to protect? Continuing to breathe. Maintain your sense of sitting in safety and power. I can sit with this discomfort. I can let go of energizing it with ideas of right or wrong. Needing to control the situation to feel safe, knowing that you feel safe right now. seeing the scene unfolding as something tragic, with no one to blame. And ask yourself the question, given the fact that this is happening, how do I want to be in response to it? Not reaction, but response. Knowing that everything I'm witnessing is an expression of spirit, the conflict emerges because we've lost touch with the source. How do I bring the safety, the sense of self-worth into this picture? While respecting the sacredness and the integrity of the situation I'm in conflict with. Some people don't want to come back. All righty, sports fans. This is the period where we ask questions, make comments. Who did we?
Hey, Bentley. Perry's here. Bentley.
Yeah, I saw Perry and Bentley. Hey, Daryl.
Bart,
Yes.
I was particularly aware of your statement or question, how do I want to be? Not what do I want to do? How do I want to act? What should I say? But how do I want to be in response to this? And that's a really, really, really different question,
Mhm.
because I want to do something. I want to say something. But how do I want to? It was just a really different question. It just put a whole new spin on it for
Mhm.
me. It
Good.
changed. It changed. Yeah, that was powerful. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And I think it's important that we remind ourselves that I'm not my conditioning. And my conditioning is my thinking, my doing, all that kind of stuff. Every time I come back into the present moment, I'm different. I'm not the same person that I was the last time I dropped into awareness. That carryover, that continuity that we do is all part of the made up story that our brain creates, the fiction of a separate self. And so coming back into that sense of being, that's where we connect with other people. So next week, this is actually going to be a 3-part series. Next week is reclaiming that sense of that I was beginning to hint at the end of this spiritual reality of the person that I'm in conflict with. Because in my defending my spirit, we forget that the person I'm protecting myself from has that same spirit. It's not a different spirit, a different form of the same spirit. So it's me in conflict with a part of me, and trying to get that to be different than it is. And if you can find that kind of control, how do I get other people to be what I want them to be? That's what people come into therapy to ask me, you know, am I right? Do I have a right to be angry? I go, no, not really. It's not that what they're doing is acceptable. It's that, why would you want to be angry?
Took me a long time to really get with that. You know, you remember I joined this group in May of 2021, a year after George Floyd had been murdered. And I remember very clearly a conversation between you and I, Bart, about my anger. And you asked me what's under that, Tiffany? What's, you know, and I was like, resentment. You're like, no, dig deeper. And I came up with all this other shit. And you're like, nope. And what was under it was love. So that is remembering that has been really grounding for me, really helpful.
And that's the work, you know, the work is to remember that we are love, we are peace. That's not something we're creating, that's our identity. But that's not what our brain tells us. And so it's important that we do these, that we take this time to remember who we are. Wake up, wake up. Who are you really? So we're trying to get to peace through anger. And tell me how that's going to work. And who was it? Was it Gandhi who said, be the peace you want to see? And so this is the work. Dr. King, you're not going to
Season
get
of nonviolence.
You're not going to get to justice through violence.
What you just said using the word work reminds me of the idea of, instead of right or wrong, is what you're doing working? Is it getting you what you want?
Yeah, and that's a part I thought about bringing in today. You know, the Buddhists, when they say right thinking, they don't mean the moralistic sense that we have. We always hear everything through moralism because we can talk religion. Be a good girl, be a
Do
good boy,
the right
do the
thing.
right thing, you know, don't be bad, all that kind of stuff. Paris is skillful, okay? And let me give you an example why. Let's say you were in Nazi Germany and you were harboring a Jew. And the Gestapo came to the door and said, you got any Jews in your house? Would you tell them the truth? No, you wouldn't. Would it be okay to lie? Yeah, sometimes
Mhm.
it's willful to lie. So many of the things you can't say an absolute, this is right, this is wrong. It depends on context.
Right.
It's on what serves spirit, what serves the whole, not just my ego. What defends the people that can't protect themselves, you know? Um,
Right.
Someone's acting in ignorance of the reality. How do I help them wake up and see what they're doing? You know, some of these atrocities that are happening are things that are waking America up. You remember Kent State, and they killed two innocent college girls who just happened to be walking on campus. It was people from the reserves, and they were scared. They thought they were being threatened. They fire off shots. They kill two girls, and all of a sudden we're going, there's a culture, whoa, oh, something's not right here. And that's how we begin to wake up to that sense again of compassion and the need for some more humane ways of doing things.
I've been really moved by that.
Okay, Don, speak up a little bit.
I've been really touched in following the group of monks that have walked from Fort Worth to Washington. And over the course of seeing their journey and seeing all the people that have shown up, and many of them are in tears. And I think that there's a variety of reasons that those tears are there. Fear, love, awe, but it boils down to they represent love walking through the town. And even when confronted, the leader had a way to disarm the person that was confronting them, not aggressively, but by just saying, we're walking for peace, and I wish you peace.
That's great.
And it's quite striking.
It is. It is.
Great example.
And it reminds me of something. During the Gulf War, we did a demonstration for peace. Sister Margaret in Shreveport asked me to lead the parade and the march, so I did. And we had counter demonstrators, and there were probably 20 of us and 300 counter demonstrators. And so they're all trying to out-American us by singing America the Beautiful, and they get through the first two lines and they can't remember the rest of the song. So we picked it up for them and finished the song. That's a good way of saying, look, we're all Americans here. We know these songs. You don't have ownership of this. We can all sing this. And then we started to walk down to the senator's office, and they were marching in a line blocking us on Texas Street. And so I just stood there and I looked at every one of them in the face, and I made eye contact, and I said, smiled, I said, hi, good morning. And finally, one woman looked me in the eye and she said, go ahead. And she let us go through. She couldn't, with that eye contact, she couldn't block us anymore. So go down to the parking lot and we're all kneeling and praying for peace. And they start mocking us. And God isn't going to listen to your parish, fucking atheists, and all this kind of stuff. And then they started quieting down because we didn't react. And then some of them joined us. Okay. And that's the power. Okay. That's what these monks are bringing. You know, when you say, how do you want to be in response to this? What kind of environment are you inviting an environment of reconciliation, or are you resisting the resistance to the resistance to the resistance and perpetuating? So, yeah, they are beautiful, and they represent the best in us. I think that's what it is that there's a part of us that would like to embody that kind of spirit, have that. Anybody?
Art,
Yeah.
I found it really interesting of trying to hold the peace and then deal with the anger
Mhm.
of the incident. And I felt myself go back and forth from one to the other, until finally they kind of melded into this each other. It was very interesting experience for me.
And that's, again, the benefits of meditation. Okay. So I was looking at some various people. I was looking at Rumi, and Rumi says the first movement is towards silence. All right. And it's in the silence that we remember who we are. It's very important to stay grounded in that reality. So that's why we practice. So when we do have something that's very emotional, and the mind keeps wanting to get back into the storyline, back into the conflict, it's very addicted to that. We can keep our seat and view it, ourselves and other people with compassion. So yeah, good for you.
And
So, and those of you who couldn't do that, that's why we meditate, okay? So while you're sitting on your cushion, things are going to arise all the time. And watch your monkey mind start the storyline, get into it, feel what happens. I mean, you should be doing that, could be doing could be doing that every time you're sitting, is learning that movement.
well, and you know, mindfulness is part of that equation of melding with violence and compassion, because in the book on self-compassion, the first thing you have to realize, let's say you're in anger, is you have to realize I'm angry. It's that mindfulness. That's what we do here on the cushion. It's like, oh, ooh, you know, and then send yourself compassion for that anger. Wow, where did that come from? And what's this about? And then realize your common humanity. Oh, how human of me to be angry. Oh, how human of me.
And human of them. How much are we seeing our own woundedness reflected in them?
Yeah.
That's another part of this. So.
And that compassion and violence are two sides of the same coin. You know, you kind of can't have one without the other.
Well, that's the importance of unitary thought. Unitary thought says everything that you're looking at is still sacred.
You know, I don't, go ahead, Woody, go ahead.
Bart, you used the word pause when you were talking about this. And in Naranan, that's one of our acronyms, postpone action until serenity emerges. And it saved my butt so many times. Because you have to stop and think, where am I, you know?
Pause and recovery.
It's also possibly another unknown solution exists.
Yes, till another solution exists. Yeah.
I like that. Pause.
Yep.
Thank you for those.
Look at that beautiful sky behind Bentley.
I know.
I know.
Well, it's nice to be stuck in the middle of the Mediterranean.
Bentley's on an island in the Mediterranean.
Ooh,
Ooh,
We're coming.
I'm trying to.
must be rough.
Having a retreat. I have a huge
Come on down. Come on.
hippie invasion
Yeah.
Menorca.
Okay.
They got plenty of space out there. Okay, any
Do
other
you have an
questions?
airport on Menorca?
Of course.
Little
Yeah.
one. Okay, anybody else? Okay,
One thing I will say, I did have, there was one point in the meditation where you said something about morality, or something. And I did have, I got stuck there because the shit I'm mad about, like, there's no, it's wrong. I couldn't get there, but maybe someday.
Okay. Let's put it this way. I'm one of my guilty pleasures is to read crime novel type things, detective things, and I'm reading a series where these people kill each other, and he writes very complex, morally complex stories, because some of the people he's killing, you really feel they need to be killed. I mean, these are some bad people, and he really is out there. Even the police department is operating outside the rules. They kind of agree that he's taking pieces off the board that need to be taken off that they can't get rid of on their own. So why do we need a commandment to not kill each other? Why does that even come up? Why do we need a commandment not to steal each other's shit, each other's wives? Why do we have that need for that control? See?
And we're all speechless.
Yeah. Stop to ask the meta question. Okay. And the meta question is because left to our own devices, that's what human beings do. Okay.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Okay. That's the core of what you got. We look at the wrong part. We don't.
So I have this argument with a friend of mine.
Okay.
We go back and forth. The argument is, are human beings innately good or innately evil? I have always said human beings are innately good. She believes they're innately evil. Then I asked the question of a friend. We were having a conversation, and I asked the question, I said, does what you're saying, does that mean that money really is the root of all evil? That, given complete and utter freedom, that's what we would do?
Okay. So again, the answer is
no, you can't freeze now, Bart. God damn it.
everybody keeps acting as if it's
No.
parasympathetic nervous
Damn
system,
it.
and you got your sympathetic
You're
nervous
both
system.
right.
You're freezing. You're freezing.
Bart, you froze. I missed everything you said.
Okay.
Thank God it's being recorded.
You are both. Your parasympathetic nervous system is good. Your sympathetic nervous system creates the conflict. That's where the greed, that's where the hatred comes from, okay? That's where all the storylines come from. So you can't reduce us to either one. We're both and. That's what unitary means, okay? Trying to divide us into one or the other just leads you into ignorance and confusion. So your brain is literally at war with itself. And the enlightened part of your brain knows that unbridled greed and anger dissolve social connection. You can't allow that. The reason we have morality is to discipline us to say, how do you want to be? Can you learn from the experience of others that pursuing that is simply going to lead to the dissolution of your culture, which ultimately will affect your capacity to survive. That's why we have to get to a position of understanding the consequences of our behavior. So it's when you look at people, one of the ways of looking at them is that right now they're in the wrong part of their brain. When people walk into my office and they're angry at their husband, I know if I say anything to try to be balanced in perception, they're going to take it that I'm siding with their husband, and I'm going to get all the shit that they've got their husband. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Yes.
The thing is to recognize this person is not available
To hear the
to
other
hear
side.
this. You can't take in new information when you're angry. It's not skillful to talk to an angry person. So when you find you're angry, the first thing is get the fuck out of the room. You get out of the room, okay? That's what we call taking a timeout. A timeout doesn't mean you're wrong, I'm wrong. It's a neutral thing to say, all we're doing is having
Pause.
two monologues with an audience. Neither one of us is listening. So I just stop, all right?
But can I just say, Bart, sorry, to get to that stop for somebody who since childhood has probably learned in their nervous system the way to regulate is indeed to get angry
No.
and to let it explode. So to get to that stop actually takes a hell of a lot of work internally.
Congratulate yourself for
Right?
doing that. Yeah.
I'm not referring to myself, but yeah.
Okay, so let me tell you a warrior story. Okay, there's a guy who is a samurai, and an opposite warlord has killed his master. So he's honor bound to go out and kill the guy who sent the ninja in to kill his master. So he goes in, finds the warlord meditating. And he he confronts him, he says, okay, face me and take your death honorably. So the warlord stands up and spits in his face. Samurai puts his sword back in his sheath and walks out. And one of the guys says, why did you walk out? That was your opportunity to kill him. And he said, because he spit in my face and it made me angry. If I had killed him out of anger, it would have been personal. And I cannot kill personally. Okay. You want that discipline. Okay. And that's the warrior discipline. The warrior discipline is over that first impulse to retaliate. No. No. And so again, we're not going to resolve everything in this discussion. The entire Bhagavad Gita is about, is it okay to don't kill my relatives in this battle? Reconciling that kind of thing when things come to conflict, what's the honorable thing to do? So if we hadn't resolved that in 3 centuries, I mean 3 millennia,
That's
I
right.
don't
We'll-
think
we'll
we're
do
going to
it
resolve it
next week.
tonight. We're just going to, hey, this is nothing new. We've seen it before. Who do I want to be in this story? Okay, who do I want to be in this story? I want to be Superman. I want to be the Avengers. Spidey Man, fix it all. Okay.
Okay, we end with 3 rounds of Om and a wow for what we have, maybe what sparked some enlightenment this morning. Yeah. All right, deep breath
joke.
in.
Wow.
Oh, there's my daddy.
Oh, wonderful.
Next Saturday is his birthday. Y'all better bring gifts.
Oh.
Take care.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Bye. Thank
Have a great weekend.
Thank
Bart,
you.
what
Bye,
murder
Courtney.
mystery? Bart, what murder mystery are you reading?
Um, the guy's name right now. He writes that his guy is a Boston private detective. Can't think of the name of it. I've got one of those brains. I can't remember who wrote it or the title, but I can tell you the whole plot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
That one too.
Peter Heller's The Artist is much